Because we believe that this continent is extremely important, and it is important for not only for the relations as they are now, but also for the future of our relations. The unique aspect about Israel is that we have no colonial past. We have no colonial past. We do not come to Africa with guilt feelings or with the feeling that we need to repair something that we have broken. We come to Africa with clean hands. We are a small country. We are a country now, we are almost 10 million Israelis. It's a relatively small country. We have some advantages in agriculture, in other issues. We have good experiences that we want to share with the nations of the world. We believe that with Africa as an emerging continent, there is a lot that we can do together. And when I say together, I mean it. It's not, we don't come to Africa because we want to sell something. We come to Africa in order to build partnerships. This is the way we have seen it from day one. We started programs of cooperation with Africa already in the 50s and the 60s, and the spirit was always a spirit of cooperation. And we think that until now, we have demonstrated our goodwill time and time again. And we know that this friendship, it works both ways. And this is indeed what is happening. And we are very satisfied by this friendship. And we believe that so are the nations of Africa. This is the feedback that we receive. This is what we hear also from many leaders and many people in African countries, that those relations are meaningful and important. They are important on many levels. One cannot ignore, for instance, the religious aspect. You know, if in Africa you have a lot of people who are either Christian or Muslim, then the relation to this land, and particularly to this city of Jerusalem, is an extremely important relation. And it is not something that can be denied, and it's also part of our common heritage and our common history. So all of this, I think, is part of the logic of the good basis for those relations. And then we face also those common challenges which are going to be more and more difficult, which are related to the environment, to global warming, to the lack of water, to the phenomenon of desertification. All of this is affecting us just as it is affecting the nations of Africa, and we believe that the answers will also be found together. Okay, so we view this really in terms of partnership. From those of you who come from Kenya, I remember when I started at the ministry, I started at the foreign ministry 30 years ago in 1992. In 1993, if I'm not mistaken, or 1994, we had a visit. It was the first visit of President Daniel Arap Moi. Okay? And it was an historic visit. And you see, the fact that I remember it almost 30 years later, it shows you how deep an impression it left. Because before then, we did not have that many relations with Africa. And one of the greatest leaders of the continent came to visit us here. And this was a shift, it was a changing moment also in those relations. And since then, all the doors have been opened to us in all the countries on the continent. And even when we have political disagreements, it does not mean that we are not in harmony. And I think that this is the secret of the success of those unique relations between Israel and the African continent. If there was one thing in which I would invest as an Israeli, not only in Africa but all over the world, it's in education. It's education, it's health. Those are the important issues. It's much more important than building infrastructure. Here in Israel, you know, we had the good fortune, and it's a very paradoxal, but we had the good fortune of not having natural resources. And not having natural resources is probably the best thing which can happen to you, because it means that you have to deal with everything using your brains. You cannot rely on something which is under the ground or whatever. And we have built here a nation only by using our brains and by working hard. And this is a national ethos that we would like to share also with other countries. So we have now capacities which are proven capacities in things which are important to the world, in agriculture, in water, in education, in health, etc. So those are the issues on which I would work with other nations of the world. And not only, it's not about giving and receiving, it's about building things together. It's about building things also in favor of third countries and other people. You know, when we talk about prominent nations in Africa, such as Kenya, then it's in terms of partnership, and let's do things together also in order to help people who are in need of that help, also maybe in other places in Africa or other places in the world. That's the way we look at it. We are a nation, you know, most of us. So now we are a country in which we enjoy a good economic situation, but it wasn't always the case. We started from nothing. If you talk to, you know, don't look at us, look at our parents and our great-parents and great-great-parents. They did not have anything, and nevertheless they managed to build something which we can be very proud of. And it is exactly this knowledge and this experience that we want to share.